Hello, YouTube. Welcome to my channel, Unique Sports Talk. And I wanted to put my 2 cents in to this situation that is going on with Simone Biles and Riley Gaines. And so I have a piece together, a couple of things from my sports show that I want to just highlight again. But first, like, share, and subscribe to my channel, Unique Sports Talk. Hit that notification bell. I'll probably be posting at least once a day, and on Wednesdays, my On the Swivel at the Sports Bar podcast is at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday. You could pop in there because that's a live show. But anyway, so here's my thing. I'm really disappointed in Simone Biles, only because, with all the things that she had to do to compete as a natural born female and be one of the greatest, or if not the greatest gymnasts in the whole world. I'm really sad by the fact that she could pull a ladder up behind her and not really cover all the women that may not become as great as her, but needs to be afforded the opportunity to compete girl on girl, adolescent on adolescent, teenager on teenager, and woman on woman without men encroaching into their spaces. So just because some dude has some illness and puts on a dress and some lipstick, that does not make him a woman. And it's been, I don't know how many receipts that we need to show that it's an unfair imbalance. They take away positions from deserving women. And you know what? The president was right. And he said it on a campaign trail. There's only two sexes, and he's vehemently opposed to women, to men playing in women's sports, baring their naked bodies in locker rooms with natural born women against those women's will. I guess that's sexual abuse, if you ask me. So anyway, Stephen A. Smith takes it upon himself to interview Riley Gaines. And we're going to play a couple of tidbits. And then she has to school Stephen A. Smith, who made a bad comparison at one point, as he usually does. So without further ado, let's get started.
A former NCAA All-American swimmer turned conservative pundit who now hosts the Gains for Girls podcast on Outkick.com that focuses on current events, social issues, and topics related to women's rights and gender equity. Please welcome to the Stephen A. Smith Show, Miss Riley Gaines. Riley, how are you? How's everything?
I am fantastic. Super excited to be on with you today. So thanks for the opportunity.
Please, my pleasure. Thank you for coming on. Let me give the audience some background on the story. Last week, a transgender softball pitcher in Minnesota named Marissa Rothenberger led Champlain Park High School to a state championship. This athlete's participation in the girls' softball season was in defiance of President Donald Trump's executive order of keeping biological men out of women's sports. The high school league removed comments from a post showing the winners of a softball state championship.
Don't you hate when people post something on social media, but they turn the comments off? That tells you right then and there that they know they're doing wrong, and that the feedback that they rightfully deserve, they don't want to hear it. So it tells you that something's nefarious right off the jump.
So I know you reacted to that. I want to know, what was your reaction when you saw all of that? Could you remind our audience of what it was?
Absolutely. Well, this was about 2 weeks ago at this point. Understand that week we saw in 5 different states, California, Washington, Oregon, Maine, and Minnesota, boys take qualifying spots, state championships, or podium spots from deserving girls. This case in Minnesota that you're referring to, this was a boy who pitched 5 games straight, 35 consecutive innings, only allowed 2 runs of those 35 innings. I think he pitched 21 shutout innings. Mm-hmm. They won the state championship. It was his team's first time ever even making the state tournament. Of course, they went on to win. He led his team in a way that I would describe not very valiantly. Nonetheless, to be very clear, this boy is following the rules that were in place by local leadership, state leadership, of course, at the interscholastic level, but nonetheless, it violated federal law, that federal law being Title IX. So I was quick to call this out, as I have done for years after experiencing personally the effects of competing against a man. So that's a little backstory here. The issue is still happening. It continues to persist with full steam ahead and no signs of slowing down.
And how long have you maintained, or I don't want to say this is new to you because, like you said, you've been speaking on this for quite some time. I'm assuming when you talked about having,
We don't have to go back to her backstory. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit to where she gets into it about where Simone Biles comes in, because this was the catalyst for Simone sending her such a hateful tweet out of nowhere. Now, I mean, you could have a difference of opinion, and I don't know why Simone Biles would want men to compete in women's sports. That's something that I just don't understand out of these liberal women. However, she personally attacked Riley Gaines, where that was uncalled for because she had to know Riley has had this position for years. So this came out of the clear blue and it kind of shocked Riley Gaines, but we'll get into some of that later. So I'm gonna just skip ahead to, I guess, the discussion on Simone Biles.
the women, I side with you 1000%. I have no problem with your position whatsoever, and I'm not scared to say it, and I've never been scared to say it. I think that's absolutely the right thing to do. Women should be competing against women, men should be competing against men, and transgenders should be competing against transgenders. I have no problem with it whatsoever. I don't know why that's controversial, but when you think about what you've been exposed to and what you've had to deal with, it brings us to Simone Biles, which is why this is a subject that we had to tackle, because your stance and your position recently when you spoke about the person from Minnesota that prompted Simone Biles to post this about you. Quote, this is her quote about you. You're truly sick. All of this campaigning because you lost a race. Straight up sore loser. You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans people feel safe in sports. Instead, you bully them. One thing's for sure is no one in sports is safe with you around. End quote. What was your immediate reaction when you saw what Simone Biles had to say about you, the great Olympian that she is, because nobody can question her credentials? And now that you've had an opportunity to reflect even further on what she has said, what is your reaction now?
When I first got this notification on my phone, of course, as you just said, Simone, her illustrious career, what she's done for the sport of gymnastics, what she's done for women's sports in general, much broader than gymnastics. I have looked up to her and admired her. I mean, I watched her compete in 2016, 2020, 2024, the past 8-ish, I guess 9 years at this point. I've admired Simone Biles. So when I got this notification on my phone that I had been tagged in something on X from Simone, I was like overwhelmed with excitement and starstruck, and I click on it and I read what you just said out loud, and I read it again and again, and I clicked the profile, and then I went back and I clicked the profile again to make sure it was really Simone Biles. This wasn't a fake account, and it really was Simone Biles, and I was heartbroken. And I'll tell you what, I wasn't heartbroken because of the personal attacks, because of her calling me a bully or saying that I'm disgusting or truly sick or whatever she said. It wasn't that hurt my feelings, because I'm a very secure person. I'm secure with myself. I'm secure with the side of history that I'm on. Very happily married for 3+ years. Like, none of those personal attacks bothered me. But what did bother me is knowing the platform that she has and how she was so quick in such a venomous way to sell out young girls like my little sister. My little sister's 16 years old. She's an elite level gymnast. I come from a family of athletes. Like, my dad played professional ball, SEC Hall of Famer. My brother played football in college. I, of course, went to University of Kentucky. My mom was a Division I softball player. My oldest sister went to Ole Miss. She played softball. My youngest sister is the best athlete out of all of us. She will go on to do incredible things, whatever she does in college and beyond. That's why my heart broke in that moment. I'm sure you'll continue to read the next tweet that Simone put out, which we can discuss. But in that moment, I was so just disappointed and disheartened to know a woman who has done so much for the sport was so quick to pull up the ladder behind her, is how I would describe it.
In your response to Biles, you brought up Larry Nassar, and that's the only thing that you said where I took issue.
Now listen, okay, so Stephen A said this is what he took issue with, but listen to what Riley Gaines says to him, because I don't understand where he missed why there's a corollary. But even though Larry Nassar was a monster about women with men in their locker rooms.
I took umbrage with what you said because you brought him up. This is the former national team doctor who sexually abused multiple U.S. gymnasts, including Biles, under the guise of quote unquote medical treatment. You wrote, quote, all the horrific sexual abuse Simone Biles witnessed and spoke out against caused by one man, yet believes women should be forced to strip naked in front of men to validate the man's feelings. You know how many gold medals you'd have if your inclusive dream came true? Zero. That was the only thing that I criticized you for because I thought that was really, really below the belt considering how heinous of an individual, how despicable Larry Nassar was and what Simone Biles was subjected to because of that man. Any regrets at all about saying that, bringing up Larry Nassar is what I'm asking.
I stand by what I said 100%, but let me provide a little context.
Okay.
First of all, for clarity, I believe Larry Nassar is a monster and who should spend every single waking second for the rest of his life miserable and rotting away in prison. There's no, me and Simone certainly agree there. Context here for the situation again that my own personal experience that I can speak to. I don't know if you've ever been inside of a locker room, specifically a locker room on a pool deck, right? It's an open space. It's basically like a large square.
Okay.
There is no stalls beyond the stalls that you use the restroom in, but you're not putting your suit on or, of course, showering in those stalls.
Okay.
Does it get more perverted than being in a shower, which is typical for a swimming locker room, especially you're in the chlorine, you get out, you're in the pool 5 times a day, you rinse off. Does it get more perverted than standing in the shower, totally undressed, when a 6'4" man approaches you, stands in the shower head next to you, undresses himself, fully naked, fully intact, and watches you shower? That's the context I was drawing. And to me, that is sexual abuse. What me and my teammates had to go through was certainly sexual.
And she's absolutely correct. Under all definitions of SA, that's one of them. Okay, maybe it wasn't with Larry Nassar because he went and started touching. But here's this big freak in the bathroom looking at all the ladies, man, getting his mental, acuity on, knowing that he has all these memories of all these naked women that he could take with him. Because he ain't cutting his Johnson off. He's still, fully a man. If you ever see this guy, he's a grizzly bear. And he's in the locker room with the women. And what was worse, the officials made the women feel that they were somehow out of sorts and out of their minds, not accepting this freak. It's crazy.
Abuse. Again, for clarity, I think what Simone, her teammates went through is condemnable and punishable beyond what we face. Again, there's no doubt in my mind there. But to try to normalize this, or in Simone's case, attempt to silence those who speak out about this, that's the conclusion I was drawing here. No girl should have to go through this, whether it is rape, whether it's unwanted touching, whether it's voyeurism, whether it's indecent exposure. And no woman should ever, ever be shamed for pointing out when men are abusing women. I found a video of Simone testifying before Congress, this same seat I have found myself in. I've testified before Congress and the Senate many, many times, and I listened to the part of her testimony. I posted a video of it, a little clip of it, where she's, of course, speaking to the abuse, speaking to how horrific, speaking to how no woman should have to go through this again. And our messages sounded the exact same when I sat in that seat. She got emotional in her testimony. I got emotional in my testimony describing this. That's the conclusion I was drawing here. Again, it is easy to condemn Larry Nassar, but I believe it should be just as easy to condemn those who attempt to normalize or think it's not on a scale of gross sexual offense against women and girls to have men undressing and showering next to women.
Riley, I can push back, but I won't even try. And the reason why I won't even try is because you make a very, very valid point. First of all, your personal experience.
How are you going to push back against that? On what? On what grounds? Just be a man and just say, okay, now that you said what you said, I understand. And maybe my point was wrong or needless. You can't push back against that. Just because that guy was physical didn't mean it was any less abuse. This is the kind of equivocation they got him suspended with Michelle Biles, even though I thought that was bad, but still. Hey, listen, if the women feel that they're being abused because this guy is standing in their locker room with his Johnson in their face, they're being abused. Anyway, I wanted to end it here, and we're going to move on because Riley Gaines has her reply specifically to Simone Biles, and I want to get into that. And it's not a long clip, it's a couple of minutes. So we're going to get right into that.
Yesterday, Simone Biles, the Olympic gymnast, the best of the best, bar none. There is no one else even remotely in her league in women's gymnastics. I guess in an attempt to be inclusive and virtuous, decided to sell out all women and girls who have dreams to achieve and to succeed, and to specifically personally attack and body shame me. She tweeted this out of the blue, like this came out of nowhere, and she said, "Riley, me, you're truly sick, all of this campaigning because you lost a race." First of all, if she's insinuating I lost to a man, I've lost several races in my career, duh, that's part of being an athlete. But if she's saying I lost to a man, that's factually incorrect. We tied, besides the point. Straight up sore loser. You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports. Let me get something straight. It's my job. It's the women's job. This is what Simone Biles is saying. It's the women's job to find a way for the men's feelings to be validated, for their identity to be affirmed. That's not my job, actually, at all. So to say I should be doing this is insane. It
is insane. There's just no way women should be responsible for guys who have what they call a gender dysphoria, and they need to fix it in all ways so those people could feel, equal to women. How is this the women's fault or the men's fault, for that matter? These people need medical help or mental treatment.
She wants to use her platform to uplift men and women's sports, then by all means, but it's certainly not my job, and I don't believe it's the job of any woman to do this. She goes on to say, but instead you bully them. One thing's for sure, no one in sports is safe with you around. I can't even make sense of that last part, actually. Then out of the blue, she tweeted this: bully someone your own size, which would ironically be a male, which is hilarious, really for two reasons. Number one, she's acknowledging there are differences, like physiological, biological differences between men and women in saying this. Secondly, I'm 5'5", which might seem like a giant to someone who's like 4'7", 4'8", but I'm pretty standard size for a woman. I guess like relatively muscular, right? Being an athlete, I would imagine Simone would understand that, but I weigh like 135 pounds, 5'5", of pretty much pure muscle. And again, if anyone would understand that, you would think it's Simone Biles, a woman who has historically been scrutinized for having a very muscular, masculine looking body. She was scrutinized to the point she did this whole body positivity campaign. Then she has the nerve to say that I look like a man. And not to mention, this is a woman who has been incredibly brave in calling out and witnessing the horrific sexual abuse that she and hundreds of other female gymnasts faced at the hands of one sexual predator, that predator being Larry Nassar. In the same breath, believing that vulnerable women should be forced to strip down naked in front of men in locker rooms so long as it makes the man feel happy. If Larry Nassar came out as trans, would Simone think it's responsible or safe for him to be housed in a women's prison? To be very, very clear.
I mean, these are all great points. And, Simone, just like so many other women, liberal women, and I hate to say black women, are on the wrong side of history here. And there's a lot of white women on that side too, if they're liberal. But this is absolutely incredible. I mean, it's just, we were off the rails. If you imagine Kamala Harris, if she would have got the presidency, we would have maybe 30 million immigrants there, and this transgenderism would have went completely off the rails.
I could care less what Simone Biles says about me. I'm a very secure person. I know I'm on the right side of history. I'm married, so if she wants to say I look like a man, I literally could care less. The most heartbreaking part about this, for me, is the platform that she has and the amount of young girls who look up to her, that she just in a blink of an eye sold out to appear to be virtuous. What we saw from Simone is the definition of pulling up the ladder behind you.
Let me just land that right there. The point really is that on this side, in this case, I don't see how you couldn't go against what Rowdy Gaines is talking about. At least I know I can, definitely. And so here was the apology from Simone Biles, right? So I want to follow up my last tweets. I've always believed competitive equity and inclusivity are both essential in sports. The current system doesn't adequately balance these important principles, which often lead to frustration and heated exchanges. And it didn't help for me to get personal with Rowley, which I apologize for. So she apologizes for attacking Rowley, but not for her position. That's essentially what it is, even though some of the things she said really doesn't make sense. Okay, these are sensitive, complicated issues, and I truly don't have the answers or solutions to. But I believe it starts with empathy and respect. Well, you can have empathy, but it doesn't mean people get what they want, right? You could feel for the transgender, but the transgender is not right. Just because you feel empathy doesn't mean they should be allowed to get whatever they want. It really doesn't. We need to, we can feel sorry for somebody, you can have empathy for them, but that doesn't mean that they're right, and it doesn't mean that they get what they want. And the only respect they deserve is the respect that every other human deserves: the right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. But nobody owes you happiness, especially at the expense of other Americans. That's the bottom line. So y'all could read the rest of this thing, but the point really is that I just wanted to go through this. If you wanted to see all of this stuff and complete with without me in the middle of it, you can go to episode 28 of On the Swivel at the Sports Bar. It's on the live tab of this channel. And, go through it all yourself and do the replay and leave some comments in general for the whole sports show. Anyway, I'm here every Wednesday. I'll be doing a live show on the Swivel at the Sports Bar right here on the Unique Sports Talk. And you could always join me. Our pain, marriage, politics, and sports. Over and out.